From CNN, Putin signs expanded anti-LGBTQ laws in Russia in latest crackdown on rights.
I was just about to say this.
Is that what they're calling it, huh? So the new laws make it illegal to promote or praise LGBTQ relationships, publicly express non-heterosexual orientations, or suggest that they are normal. The package of amendments signed by Putin include heavier penalties for anyone promoting non-traditional sexual relations and or preferences, as well as pedophilia and gender transition. Under the new law, it will be banned across the internet, media, books, audio, visual services, cinema, and advertising. So Ian was just asking why the U.S. is trying to go to war with Russia. Well, the U.S. is very much in favor of all of these things, and Russia opposes them.
Well, I think it's not just like that. I think when we look at examples like Saudi Arabia, they commit far more atrocious things than what happens in Russia, and there far more is a bigger cultural difference with Saudi Arabia than Russia. I think it's even deeper than this. There's another article by Fox News that I think is worth pulling up, and it's titled "Wall Street CEOs Funding China's Military and Human Rights Abuses. Here's Why." And when we look at the rise of China, it is partly responsible because of many Western elites, the Rockefellers, Henry Kissinger, and of course a lot of the foreign policy that shipped American jobs and labor overseas. So there is an effort to globalize the world, but more importantly, control the world. And in China, you see a lot of very powerful billionaires in America financing that movement. You see Bill Gates, you see Klaus Schwab saying they're doing great work when they're locking people inside of their homes and there's fires there and literally people die because of these fires. Now when we see that when we look at this COVID zero policy, these are policies that a lot of people want to implement all over the world. So why is Russia at odds here and China isn't? Well, that should be something that should have a lot of people thinking what's really going on here, because it's not just cultural differences. I think there's a bigger agenda trying to make China a perfect example for the rest of the world. I think that's what they're going after. I think that's what they're trying.
What's the situation with the Chinese riots, revolution? I mean, it looks like people all across the country were stepping up and in crowds and like overthrowing the government. I mean, it looks like that's what they were attempting to do. What's going on there?
That's what I was saying. I saw that Klaus Schwab said that the Chinese model, needed to be implemented everywhere else. And then the Chinese people themselves were pushing back because, they're dying in these fires. They're still being locked up by their government. They have their QR codes that dictate where they can travel, if they can leave or not. As far as I'm concerned, the Chinese are still pushing back. I'm not sure. We all know that it's very difficult to see what's actually happening on the ground.
Yeah, it's very hard to verify all the news coming from there, because there are some reports saying that the Chinese government is getting rid of restrictions, getting rid of some lockdowns, and allowing people to quarantine inside of their own homes. But there's also more video footage of police officers and these, white hooded crazy individuals busting down doors and asking and demanding people's cell phones so they could go through all the data, making sure that they didn't share anything through Bluetooth, and also
through
more
AirDrop.
AirDrop, which Apple isn't a big fan of and has stopped in China. Very interestingly, the same Apple that of course makes very grand statements about George Floyd here domestically, and makes very big statements about injustice here domestically, but doesn't seem to really care about it when it's at their Foxconn factory facilities that are up in arms and revolting.